A warm welcome to everybody. We're very pleased to be sponsoring this conference again. Before I begin, let me take 1 minute to introduce myself and North Highland. North Highland is a great SME success story. We set out to be the friend of the CIO and provide a more client-focused and cost-effective service than the Big Four consultancies. In just 10 years, in a turbulent economy, we've grown 30% every year, creating 250 permanent jobs in the UK, and as such, we're now growing out of the SME category. We've now merged our way into a global entity, still 100% employee-owned, and rebranded from Quedis last year to North Highland today. So I've had a really exciting 10 years, advising CIOs and IT functions, and being part of a disruptive startup. I've also experienced the reality of my clients, having held an interim position as an IT director in government from late 2007 until the last election. At North Highland, I'm now the global lead for our CIO Services practice. And today, I'd like to share our thoughts on the IT function, digital transformation, and their roles in reducing the cost of government and thereby the national debt. And I hope we can share some of your thoughts too. I'll be very brief on the debt, as I think we're all familiar with that. Moving quickly on to the contribution IT can make, and the challenges facing the IT function if it is to play a significant role. North Highland's business has been built on being the friend of the CIO, and we've improved capability in many of our clients' IT functions. I think today, many public sector IT functions stand at a junction, which digital efficiency champion one way, and a painful slide to irrelevance the other. I'll finish by talking about what we think they need to do to take the road to being a digital efficiency champion. The red bars on the left here show that we've increased public sector debt every year since 2001-2002, and we're going to be increasing it until 2018. The annual interest on that debt is about £45 billion, or to make that real, £1,500 a year from every person paying income tax in the country. You can see from the pie chart, it's not an insignificant amount. It's the same as our spend on defence. We stop increasing the debt by 2018 if we achieve the £25 billion of cuts the Chancellor outlined last week that he said would be required after the next election. From 2018 we can start paying back and the interest will decrease, but it's still a long road. So it's not a great position, and it's going to be here for a long time to come. But the good news is that it's a great opportunity. Transforming large established organisations requires a crisis that everyone can unite behind. And this is our crisis, our opportunity. And we must seize it and try and transform the public sector. So I want to focus on the two major contributions the IT function can help with. The first is to reduce the cost of IT, which the OFT estimated at $13.8 billion across 2011-2012. That's 2% of the public sector spend. If we could reduce that by 25% over the next few years, we'd end up saving £3.5 billion a year. Better sourcing models, shared risk, more efficient procurement, using SMEs, and cheaper solutions such as open source may be able to help us deliver this. The second contribution is to help the operations outside the IT function save money by transforming the way they deliver services. Of course, transformation isn't just about IT, but IT does have a huge role to play. The current digital by default focus on services and transactions for the top 25 exemplars will deliver 1.7 billion annually, and it'll start delivering that from next year. But if we look further afield at more far-reaching transformation, the Policy Exchange report last year estimated savings of 24 billion per year could be realised through digital transformation across government by 2020. But this isn't necessarily a choice. Indeed, we believe that some of the internal changes IT needs to make to reduce cost will also give it the agility it needs to help the rest of the organisation reduce its costs. So what's the status today and the challenges ahead? Well, at the close of 2013, almost every element of the government digital strategy has been proved, somewhere. G-Cloud has proved we can do agile procurement. 77 million has been spent on G-Cloud between March and October last year, over 10 months. That's growing exponentially, as you can see from the graph, and 50% of that was spent on small and medium-sized enterprises. Recently it was joined by the Digital Services Framework, which opened in November, with another 183 suppliers, of which the vast majority are SMEs. If we look at gov.uk, that is agile development in the public sector at scale. Last year, 24 ministerial departments all went live on gov.uk, all going through that process of discovery, alpha, beta, and then live in a very agile fashion. William Perrin did a great job in 2008 of showing us the power of information. The open data movement in government has grown from that and is now past critical mass. If you look at data.gov.uk and the to-go package on there, or look at the government integration spending tool, you can see that there has been a very fundamental mind shift. Shift savings are proven too. Firstly, there is a cheaper channel. The online channel should be cheaper to build and to maintain than the face-to-face or telephone channels, and gov.uk is an order of magnitude cheaper than its predecessors, BusinessLink and DirectGov. There's a Transactions Explorer on there that gives transparency on the cost by channel for all major government transactions. Although different transactions have different user demographics, and some lend themselves better to one channel than another, the trends in the cost by channel are obvious. So all of this is fantastic progress, which has been exciting to watch and should be applauded. But it's a few hundred people driving the change in a population of 5 million civil servants. So now the trailblazers and heroes have provided the trail. 2014 is the year we all need to follow en masse. This is the year we all have a choice, to follow the trailblazers or to be part of the legacy problem. For IT functions, following presents some huge challenges, and I think their actions next year will determine whether they can become digital efficiency champions or get stuck on the slow road to irrelevance. The triangle I've drawn here represents a simplified ecosystem of public sector IT supply, and I think there are some quite fundamental changes required at each vertex. And it's very difficult to change the fundamentals of how you do things if those you're working with aren't changing too. The IT function itself needs to move from trying to outsource overall risk, one throat to choke, to sourcing simpler commodity services where it's easy to switch any one supplier out. It needs to build technical knowledge in-house about how the services are integrated, to move from 5-year refresh to monthly releases, focus on building to change rather than building to last, work with the business on their ideas, play with solutions that might meet the user need, and stop demanding a detailed statement of requirements before considering a change. Procurement needs to focus less on the art of procurement and more on the customer needs. It needs to tolerate risk, both in the process and in the contracts. More agile procurement means less fire and forget and more ongoing contract management. It needs to create contracts that are simpler to get into and to get out of. It needs to move away from contracts that provide a technology refresh in exchange for years of sweating the assets and are hugely focused on contractual keep the lights on SLAs. It needs to become fast, lean and agile. IT business process outsourcing suppliers, the big guys, have built businesses on delivering against keep the lights on contracts for their clients as cheaply as possible. often buying run contracts and making the margin on changes the run contract gives them a monopoly on. They need to change to a business model that isn't so dependent on long guaranteed revenue streams. They need to be able to compete for smaller bits of work continuously. And they need to get to grips with new technologies and new build cycles. You can see each vertex has to effect some fundamental changes. And in many organizations, the drive for change is coming from outside of this ecosystem. The first question on digital leaders' lips when looking at transforming services is rightly, what is the user need? So they're often working with customer services, marketing or communications, or a service transformation program, which may or may not have IT involved or on board. So what we often see is a service transformation program using agile methods reaching out to IT. It has changing requirements. It doesn't have a detailed specification. It wants to try something that's likely to change as they go. It wants to go live in a few weeks, and the plan after that is unclear. This is difficult for most IT functions, even if they are open to it. The ecosystem might not be equipped to deal with it. There will probably be a need to procure something quickly. There might be a need to get an API from one of their suppliers working quickly. Contracts not built for this scenario might get in the way. So the likely result is very different views from either side. The IT ecosystem views the program as a bunch of cowboys. The program views the IT ecosystem as the Department of No, and they don't cooperate. This is not a UK public sector problem. The growing turf war in the private sector between the marketing department and IT is well documented, but not resolved. So if there is a war, there will be casualties on both sides, and progress will be slowed. But if IT functions choose to fight, we don't think this is a war they are going to win. So what should those of us on the IT side do? So I've identified 7 things I think the leaders of IT functions need to do, and I think they need to act fast and be very proactive in addressing this agenda. It would be useful for us to all share where we are on these. You can share and see where others are by completing the short poll. Follow the link at the bottom. So, number 1 is get the brain of IT in-house. Whatever your sourcing strategy, retain knowledge about how your services work in-house. Outsource the commodity stuff for value and agility. In today's world, provisioning a server really should take 10 minutes. Explain your needs for integration and agility to your suppliers. Check your contracts. Are they going to help you with this? And can you manage them, or are they managing you? Explain your needs for agility to your procurement function too. Do both of you understand agile procurement that is facilitated by G-Cloud and digital services frameworks? And can they help you use it? Organize the IT function to focus on new business need. Make this the primary focus for a significant portion of the function. Integrate your IT service design function with the agile projects. Get in there before it's too late. Get involved. Design your IT function for continual evolution and not for maintenance. What will you need to maintain and evolve further after the project's gone? There is no standstill anymore. And what capabilities do you need to maintain and evolve services in the BAU world? So to summarize and look at the consequences, the public sector debt problem creates an essential unifying burning platform for transformation. This is our opportunity. Virtually all elements of the digital strategy have now been proven somewhere, but it's a few people doing some really good work. And to accelerate the pace, we need to follow en masse. If IT functions are going to be part of this revolution, they need to be very proactively preparing themselves. Otherwise, they will be viewed as the Department of No, and left with the soul-destroying job of keeping the legacy IT lights on and getting a kicking every time they go out. I believe transformation will deliver value quicker if today's IT function can become tomorrow's digital efficiency champion. And I hope to see a lot of my clients who are IT directors doing that. Good luck, everybody.